Welcome to a demonstration of SAP Intelligent Asset and Maintenance Management with S/4HANA Public Cloud. Note, when referring to S/4HANA Cloud further within this presentation, it will purely be related to the public cloud version. The focus of this presentation will be on the end-to-end maintenance management process with S/4HANA Cloud. This process begins with identifying how maintenance is generated. This can be reactive maintenance, i.e. via a request, proactive maintenance, i.e. where you set up maintenance plans based upon a time or meter-based cycles, improvement maintenance, typically using a project, as well as operation and overhead maintenance. Condition, IoT and predictive monitoring is supported using SAP's Business Technology Platform. Then we move on to planning and orchestration, which is supported to prepare the maintenance data and also supports the approval and preparation of the maintenance order. Then we have scheduling and dispatch, and that's for managing the maintenance operations such as work center utilization, allocating resources and scheduling the work. Then we move on to executing and closing. Now this is the recording of the work, typically using a mobile device, leveraging work instructions and work permits, and then capturing the work history, including failure modes, labor and materials. And finally, we've got the analyze phase for reporting on mean time to repair and mean time between failures, and identifying common failures and monitoring costs. One thing to highlight, and you'll see this in the demo, is the SAP Maintenance Assistant app for maintenance technicians to record their work. This app has been designed particularly for S/4HANA Cloud. It has offline synchronization capabilities and follows the best practice definitions for S/4HANA Cloud. It works on both iOS and Android and supports both phones and tablets. To illustrate the maintenance management process in S/4HANA Cloud, I will demonstrate the reactive maintenance process. The process starts with an employee raising a maintenance request from their mobile phone. This creates a maintenance notification. This then passes to a maintenance planner who will review and approve the request. Once approved, a maintenance order is created and submitted for approval. In this case, I've set up automatic approval so the maintenance planner can go straight to release the maintenance order for scheduling. The maintenance scheduler can then assign an employee to carry out the work and then dispatch the maintenance operations to the maintenance technician. The technician can then use their mobile device using the Maintenance Assistant app to sync the operations to the device, execute the work, and confirm the operations as completed. Finally, the maintenance planner will complete the order, review the cost details, and carry out a technical object breakdown analysis. Let's start with requesting the maintenance. So our employee is using S/4HANA Cloud on their mobile phone. And there's an app here for creating a maintenance request. So she selects that application and then uses the scanning option to scan the technical object or asset. Here we've got a QR code that retrieves the pump information data. Then we'll select a failure mode group and an applicable failure mode. As more information can be entered, let's choose an effect and we say the production is restricted and it's a breakdown and it's giving us a malfunction start date. Then enter a description. And we say that the pump is leaking. Then you can add more information in the long text field. And we'll say that we'll check the seals and the bearings. Set a priority. And now we can take a photo of the issue and add that as further documentation of the failure. Now that will upload. if we submit the request, we'll get a maintenance notification created. The next step is for the maintenance planner to approve the maintenance request. So let's first go into the maintenance supervision page, and the maintenance supervisor in this case can go to an app called Screen Maintenance Requests. Here they can see a list of all the requests that have come through with different priorities, and the top one here where it says pump is leaking is our particular request. You can review the detail and examine all the information related to the request. For example, you can look at the malfunction information. You can see that it needs to check the seals and the bearings and that the pump is leaking. Further down you can see the attachments, including the image that was taken by the employee. After reviewing all the details, he can decide whether he wants to accept or reject this request. In our case, we'll accept the request. And now the notification has been accepted. Next, a planner can create the maintenance order, then submit it for approval, and then release the maintenance order for scheduling. So the planner can go into maintenance planning, and first thing to do is manage maintenance notifications and orders. In this app, you'll find the relevant notification that was created. This one here. And you'll create a maintenance order. And we've pre-selected a reactive maintenance order. That's given us order number 400306. Now let's find our order. By changing the filter selection here, and we'll look at orders with high priority. And that should give us our order number, which is this one here. And we'll submit it for approval. Now you can trigger a workflow here, and in our case we've set it up to be automatically approved. Now let's come out of this application and we'll go into Find Maintenance Orders. So let's find our maintenance order that got created. And what we're going to do next is change the status. Let's select it and select Change Status. And first thing we do is release it. So it's released, it needs to be scheduled, but before we do that, let's go into the details of the maintenance order. And we'll edit it to add some operations that need to be carried out. We'll do this by assigning a task list. And we'll add a task list that relates to the actual technical object. And if I click OK here, we should see that I've got a pump repair list, and I'll use that. Now let's just save the maintenance order. And I'll go back to the previous screen and review the operations. So the initial operation pump is leaking is added, but we've also created the isolation, pump repair and de-isolation of the pump. And if I go into one of these for the pump repair, we can also see that materials have been allocated, and in our case there are 2 bearings that have been allocated. And let's go back to the order here and have a look at the costs. We can see that there's some planned costs that have been created as well. And then when we carry out the repair, we'll book in some actual costs. So let's go back now and let's change the status to ready for scheduling. The maintenance scheduler can now assign the maintenance operations, then use the scheduling board to dispatch the maintenance operations. First, let's go into maintenance planning, and then we'll assign the maintenance order operations to an individual. We'll select the current week, and if we scroll down we should be able to see the 4 operations that we created for our order. And I'll select them and click assign, and I have a demo user called SMA. And we'll assign to the SMA technician. And we have all 4 operations assigned to the same technician. Note the resource for the work center is res-0100. And now I'm going to go into resource scheduling for maintenance planner. And I'll select our resource res-0100. Here's a list of maintenance operations, and here's a list of maintenance orders. Let's just select our order. So what we'll do is show the corresponding operations. And these are the operations that need to be planned. Let's just select all 4 operations, and we'll add it to a schedule. In this case, we'll create a new schedule. And choose a date range. And give it a demo name. And we'll create and open the schedule. These are 4 operations that are being planned on our schedule. Let's select all 4 of them. In this case, I'll schedule it automatically. Now let's look at the graphical view. And we see a Gantt chart of the work plan. They're just our 4 operations for our order. So let's zoom in a bit to look at the details. And you can alter the schedule accordingly, but it's planned it according to the resource available for that particular work center. Notice the pump is leaking has no time on it, but the other 4 operations, or 3 operations, have some time planned on it. And what I do is select them all, and I'm going to dispatch the operations to the operator. And let's change the color scheme to show they've been dispatched. I'll just zoom in. And now the operations have been dispatched to the maintenance technician, ready for execution. Now that the operations have been sent to the maintenance technician, he can use the Maintenance Assistant mobile app to sync the operations to the mobile, execute the operations, and then confirm that they've been done. So this is the Maintenance Assistant app on the mobile phone. And firstly, what we're doing is synchronizing the operations to the mobile device. Now they've downloaded, we can see the 4 operations related to our maintenance order that have been added to the device. Along the top, we can search for the maintenance order header to begin with. And there's our one at the bottom, pump is leaking. And now we can see the header details and the associated operations. And maybe we can look at some further information, maybe the original maintenance request that was created. So scrolling down to the maintenance request, we can see the malfunction details. We can see the object, the notes and documents. If we look at some documents, we can see the photo that was taken of the damage from the original request. And we can see that the pump is leaking there. We can look at the associated notes that were created, and we can see check the seals and bearings. And maybe we want to look at the actual technical object or the equipment record. And we can see the master record for the equipment, part numbers, model numbers, serial numbers, etc. Any associated measurement points and readings. While we're here, we could do a pressure reading on one of the meters. And just take an inlet pressure reading. Let's go back now. And we can look at the equipment in a bit more detail. There's a picture of and any other documents of the equipment, in particular our pump. We can look at the hierarchy and see that the pump is linked to the auxiliary unit, and if there was a parent to the auxiliary unit, we could look further up the chain. Now let's go back to our maintenance order, and we'll look at our maintenance operations and start the work. So we'll start with isolating the pump for maintenance, and we'll just simply do a confirmation for this one. And you can see the number of things that you can do. Let's assume some time's taken gone by, and we're going to just confirm that this operation has been done. And we're taking the default duration of 15 minutes. So that's the first operation that's been completed. And we'll confirm yes. Now you have the option to synchronize this completed operation back to S/4HANA, or you could just carry on and do the rest of the operations. But in this example, let's synchronize this operation, and then we'll go back and look at the update to the schedule. We'll see that operation has disappeared. And now if we switch back to the maintenance planner view within S/4HANA, and we'll open our schedule. And we see our 3 operations, and we go to the graphical view, and yes, there's only 3 operations left because we've done the isolation operation already. Let's come back out of that and switch back to the mobile application. Let's now do the second operation for the pump repair. Again, a number of steps can be done. What I'm going to do is actually issue a part. So let's go back on this. Scroll down to the parts. If I drill down, we can see the 2 bearings that were planned for this work. We can also scan in additional materials if required. And we're going to issue the part and say we use 2 bearings. And let's just also say that one of them is returned because we didn't fully use both of them. And now we can confirm this operation has been completed as well. So that operation has been fully confirmed. And we can do the final operation for de-isolating the pump. And we'll just simply do a confirmation for this, accepting the default duration of 15 minutes. Now there's still one outstanding operation that needs to be completed for the header, but before we do that, let's sync the progress up to date. And let's go back to the maintenance schedule and see those operations that have been completed already. This time we go to the full maintenance scheduling board, which shows all the work that's been planned, not just our one individual schedule. And there's multiple maintenance orders that have been planned here. We can see our one, 400306, and there's one operation that's still to be completed, which is our header operation. Let's just drill down on that. And let's just zoom in a bit on the data so you can see that a bit more detailed. And we can see our dispatched operation for the header still needs to be done. So back to the maintenance technician mobile application. And there's our last operation that we're going to complete and assign. So the work is in execution automatically, and this time I'm just using the inbuilt timer to record a minute of work that's being carried out. Then I'm going to end the operation. We'll add some default time, and this time it will just be the default duration that was created. And we're going to add some malfunction details. So we can review the failures that were created and the failure mode. When the malfunction start happened, and we'll click on the malfunction end to be the corresponding date and time now. And now we can associate the type of failure. We can say that it was a part failure, and it's a mechanical part, and in this case it'll be a bearing. And then we can associate a damage group, and we'll go for mechanical, and the type of damage, we say bearing damage, and then click done. And it's for work has been updated and the work has been finished. And then do our final synchronization. Now finally back to the maintenance planner to complete and review the order and analyze the technical object breakdown. Let's go into maintenance supervision. And we'll find our maintenance order. And then select it. And we'll change the status to main work completed. And then we'll change the status again to complete technically. And we'll complete the associated notification as well. And let's find our order again by changing the selection phase to include technically completed. And let's go into our order and review it in a bit more detail. And in this case, let's go and look at the cost information. We can see some actual costs that's come through based on the time and materials that were recorded. Let's go back out of this, and we'll go into the one of the insights, the technical object breakdown. We'll choose our maintenance plant, and we get a bit of detailed analytics here. We'll just look at pumps, and we'll just pick the current year. You can change these filters on the report to different formats if need be. I'm just going to look at the report, open up the report details, and there's our leading notification that was created with the associated maintenance order. And if I scroll across, I can see some further information on our function details, the time to repair, the time between repairs, the mean time to repair, and then mean time between repairs. And you can reformat these reports to show different types of information as required. There are also some very detailed costing and analytics available. So that was a demonstration of the reactive maintenance process in S/4HANA Cloud. I showed you an employee raising a maintenance request from their mobile phone that created a maintenance notification. This then passed to the maintenance planner who approved the request. Once approved, a maintenance order was created and submitted for approval. In this case, the approval was automatic, so the maintenance planner was able to release the maintenance order for scheduling right away. Then the maintenance scheduler assigned an employee to carry out the work and then dispatched the maintenance operations to the maintenance technician using the scheduling board. Then the technician used the maintenance assistant mobile app to sync the operations to his device, execute the work, and confirm the operations as completed. Finally, the maintenance planner completed the maintenance order, reviewed the cost details, and carried out a technical object breakdown analysis. One thing to note is that the equipment data can be extended with Asset Central to show far richer content. This additional capability facilitates the use of the Asset Collaboration Network and the Asset Performance modules. Let me show you a quick demonstration of this, starting by first comparing the equipment data in S/4HANA and seeing that master data, and then reviewing it in the Asset Central solution. So starting in S/4HANA, we'll find the technical object, and we'll select the pump that we used in the earlier demonstration. There's the header details. If I go into the record, I can see some general data and characteristics related to the pump, installation details, status information, and then the maintenance notifications and maintenance orders related to the maintenance history. There's the one that we created for the notification and the associated maintenance order in the history. Under the original files tab, you can attach documents and drawings and attachments of any type. And under the related apps option, you can see further information related to the technical object. So now let's go into Asset Central, where we can extend this equipment information. And if I go into the equipment option, and we'll select a pump, and we'll use this pump here. And then let's go into the details. And you see a much more graphical layout of information and attributes. And you can hold all sorts of information related to the model information, different types of characteristics related to the equipment. And this can be configured according to your model requirements relating to the equipment. There's location data and mapping information to identify the location of the actual asset. Let's look at structure and parts. And here we can see a parts list of components and spare parts that can be used, and you can drill into the details related to those individual assets as well. If I scroll a bit further down, we have visual representation of parts as well. So if we look at the centrifugal pump casing, you can see a 3D model here of one of the parts that can be replaced. Let's go into documents as well. And multiple types of documents can be held within the system. There's an inbuilt image viewer. So if I go into this object image viewer, I can view any sort of JPEGs, any other type of image that was created and associated with this particular pump. And if I go back and look at some other documents, we can scroll down and look at, say, some work instruction documents. Various instructions here. Look at this bearing disassembly steps. And if I go into the details of this work instruction, which can be shared with service providers, we can see the steps that need to be carried out and the tools, spare parts and documents associated with each step. And we've also got visual instructions here that can be attached related to 3D animations using our Visual Enterprise Viewer. And look at an example of this. Let's open this up. And maybe you need an exploded parts diagram. There are safety rules that can be applied. List of tools and spare parts, and various other elements, including failure modes. There's also other tabs of information, such as the monitoring tab. And this is where we can link into condition-based data and other meters and record the results in order to carry out condition-based maintenance or predictive maintenance. And then we've got the maintenance and service history and a timeline related to the asset creation and details of information that was updated on the master record. And finally, let's look at a hierarchy. And you can see a graphical hierarchy of the spare parts going up to the pump. And if there was a parent to the pump, i.e. linking to the auxiliary unit, you should be able to go further up. In this case, we're just looking at the spare parts and components. One key advantage of extending out to Asset Central is being able to share that data with external parties, including suppliers, manufacturers, operators, and service providers. Each can access the data and have one single version of the truth, and therefore believe that the data is all up to date and available for all of them to use. My name is Shane Gullop, and I'm an SAP Customer Solution Advisor for S4HANA Cloud.